Good morning. It is May 7th. We're here for our regular scheduled county commissioner meeting. We have a full slate of commissioners. We have our county administrator and our clerk of the board. At this time, I'll call the meeting to order and ask everybody to please rise and join in the pledge. First item on the agenda is the adoption of the current agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to propose we amend the agenda under regular business. Excuse me, item number 2, to change that from a presentation to a resolution, resolution 2025-141, and then would like to add a resolution just below that. That would be resolution 2025-0144, and that new resolution would be proclaiming May 4th through 10th as the National Correction Officers Week.
Second.
Been a motion and a second to amend the agenda, adding 2025-141 resolution for public service recognition, and then also 2025-144 for the jail.
National Corrections Officers Week.
National Correction Officers Week. There's been a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Thank you. So with that, we'll move down to public comment. Is there anybody in the room for public comment? I don't think we have any phones working, and we don't see nobody coming forward. Takes us down to approval of the consent agenda, and I believe today we have 6 items on the consent agenda.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of consent agenda items 1 through 6 as presented.
Second.
Been a motion and a second for the 6 consent items. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Takes us down to regular business. Item 1, Hapo Community Center Upgrade Project, Tribal Notification, presented by Mr. Danzel.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Gentlemen, before you use a letter to notify the Spokane and the Colville tribes about the work that is being performed at the Hapo Center, we, as I've spoken of before, we are officially under contract with the Department of Commerce for the appropriation that has been earmarked for the HVAC upgrade. And as part of that process, any entity receiving funds must notify the Department of Archaeological and Historical Preservation. Under Governor's Executive Order number 21-02, any entity receiving funds must notify the federally recognized Indian tribes that may be affected. Once we send the letter, there is a 30-day wait period where we are not allowed to invoice. If the 30-day passes without objection, we can start invoicing and start, in effect, working on the project. Before you is that notification letter, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Discussion, commissioners?
Just appreciate our administrator getting us well underway now and look forward to this project serving our community.
No comment.
So just a request for consensus. He has our consent then to move forward?
Yes.
All right. Takes us down to regular business item number 2, 2025 Public Service Recognition Week, presented by Mr. Brian Denzel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Before you is a proclamation for Public Service Recognition Week. As you know, we have some incredible public servants here in Franklin County, and I know you all believe it is important to recognize the good work that they do and that is being done on behalf of the citizens of Franklin County and the taxpayers. This proclamation establishes May 4th through 10th as Public Service Recognition Week. In addition to the proclamation, there's an event that's taking place tomorrow from 5:30 to 7:30 p.m. at Southridge Sports Complex in Kennewick. If any of our wonderful public servants are interested in attending that. And then I would just close by saying that I know I've only been here a short time, but in my short time being here, I truly believe that we've got some of the best public servants that I've ever worked with, certainly, and that are totally dedicated to their craft and serving the people and the taxpayers of Franklin County.
Well, Mr. Denzel, that's pretty high praise from somebody who's been not only a county commissioner, but a state legislator and working for the federal government. So that's saying a lot about the people that work here in Franklin County. That's much appreciated. Thank you. Anybody else want to comment?
Thank you for all your hard work. So, thank you.
Thank you for your hard work and for all the dedicated people that serve our community. It truly is a team effort to do what everybody does, and thank you.
All right, with that, and that's Resolution 2025-141. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move for approval of Resolution 2025-141 as presented.
Second?
Been a motion and a second for Resolution 2025-141. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Takes us down to the added presentation of Resolution 2025-144, the National Correction Officers. It's right here in front of me, so I should just look at this. The National Correction Officer Appreciation, Certificate of Appreciation. And I got to say that these people, these men and women over there have done an incredible job working through this situation at Franklin County, and they're doing a very, very great job of handling the situation and keeping everything moving and operating smoothly over there. During the National Correction Officers Week, we extend our deepest gratitude to the dedicated men and women who serve as correctional officers. Your strength, integrity, and commitment to maintaining safety and order within our correctional facility are truly admirable. Each day you face challenging and often dangerous situations with professionalism and courage, ensuring the well-being of inmates, staff, and the community. Your work often goes unseen, but is never unappreciated. Thank you for your unwavering service and your vital role in our justice system. And I just want to say thank you, and I'd ask our Commander,
Captain Jansky.
Mr. Jansky, to come forward and receive this. And if you'd like to say a few words, we'd really like to hear them.
I don't have a lot to say other than appreciate this. Thank you. The staff there at the jail has made this easy. You know, the job we did 3 months ago is the job we do today, and we'll do it tomorrow. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
A little round of applause for him. All right. Takes us down to,
Need to pass that resolution, I believe.
oh yeah, we got to pass that resolution, so I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of Resolution 2025-0144 as presented.
Second?
Been a motion, a second for Resolution 2025-144. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Next, we'll move down to the presentation discussion on County Administrator Employment Agreement presented by Mr. Danzel.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. As requested, I put some time down on the agenda today to discuss the county administrator's employment agreement. I've spoken with staff in the prosecutor's office as well as HR. They had indicated there are really just about 3 areas that we need to come to some sort of agreement on, and these have to be done in public. It's taxpayer dollars, and so this is the time to do it. But the areas that we need to come to agreement on are salary, length of term of the contract, and then really kind of what I'm wondering about is if it's a longer term contract, then I would be interested in a shorter term severance if I'm let go without cause, and vice versa. If it's a shorter contract, I'd like a little bit more just for security reasons and moving and uprooting and coming down here. But this is the time to discuss that.
Commissioners, discussion.
I think that's understandable and fair, so.
I can certainly appreciate the reasons for those things. Is this something that, what would the next step in this process look like?
I believe, Mr. Commissioner, we would just start talking about what the terms would be, and when we're done, the way that it was explained to me is we could get this all into a contract and ready for signature as early as next week. So probably we'd want to rip the Band-Aid off, I'm guessing, and take care of this week, and then sign next week. Mackenzie, is that, yeah.
So first off, we need to talk about salary. Previously, our previous administrator, we had all kinds of incentives and in bonuses and also paying for his attendance. You have spoken to me and said you don't want any of that in the contract. You just want a flat salary, correct?
That's right. I'm of the belief that there shouldn't really be bonuses for this kind of a position in general. But number two, I think that given the national budget situation that every municipality's in, I think given consistency and just a flat number is the way to operate. And I also am sort of one that I like to, once I sign, I don't like to think about that anymore. I just like to get on with the work.
And I would just like to add that since you've been on board, a lot sure has happened. A lot of positive has happened for this county, and I'm not talking about the situation that is happening with the sheriff, but I'm talking about things are happening as far as we're getting answers from the AG, we're getting answers from a lot of things that have been up in the air for so long. And whether you're for credit to that or not, it's happening. And plus, your work on our agenda, you're making things so much easier for us. In my 6 years as a county commissioner, I've never had it this easy. And it's fun working here again with you, Mr. Danzel. I got to say, this has been a joy. So it is happening for our county. Things are happening in a positive direction. And I thank you for coming here and applying for this job. So with that, I would entertain a salary that would be fair in compensation for what I'm seeing as a true administrator that is actively making things occur for our county. I would be thinking in the 175 to 180 range for salary. My thoughts.
I would agree. Everything has been working very smoothly and progressive, so I think that range is fair when you look at other salaries of other administrators. I think that's actually probably on the low end.
Yes.
But I guess it would matter if it's a fair and equitable salary range for yourself. We want to make sure that you're comfortable and continue the great job that you're doing.
I would echo the thoughts and sentiments of my fellow commissioners that we've seen a lot of actions that is very appreciated. You being prepared for everything that we've been doing and asking you to do, and knowing that there's a lot of stuff you're working on that won't reach us for some time. And so, Mr. Chairman, I believe that a salary of $180,000 for this position, like Commissioner Mullen said, is probably a little bit on the low end for what we're getting, and I think that's a bargain. And so, if Mr. Danzel would be willing to accept a salary of $180,000, I think that would be appropriate.
Okay, so we are in agreement on the salary. Now the length of contract. Yes, what would you like to see for the length of contract, Mr. Danzel?
One of those NFL quarterback contracts, like $100 million over 3 years, or no. I appreciate your words, gentlemen, and it's been a pleasure to work on behalf of you. There's two ways of looking at this. Kind of, I think they're tied together. If you're interested in a longer term on the contract, I would be interested in lowering the amount of severance in the case I got fired without cause. If you're wanting to have a shorter term contract, I would just simply ask that you flip that, and that I would have more of a severance if I was fired without cause. So kind of the way I would look at it is, say, maybe a 4-year contract, and I would have maybe like 4 months worth of severance. And if it was a 2-year contract, I would maybe be inclined to ask for like maybe a year of severance, if that was acceptable. But they're kind of connected, I feel.
I'm fine with the 4-year contract.
4-year?
4 and 2 is fine with me. I'm sorry, 4 and 2? Did I get that? Did I write that down
4 and
correct?
4.
4 and 4 and
4-year,
4.
4 month?
4 and 4. I'm okay with that.
Okay. So is there any other technicalities that we need to talk about? And on the agenda today was the Happel Community Center upgrade. I just want to make mention that when you first got here, you knew nothing about this, but you got us back in line and on pace to receive that $3 million for our HVAC system. And
Absolutely.
we didn't lose out on that. And I want to say thank you very much because you gave us a big lift there. We would have lost that if it wasn't for your awareness
That's exactly right.
and keeping that thing alive so we could get in there and get it. And now it's on its way. So, Mr. Danzel, you're doing a great job. Keep it up.
Thank you, sir. I very much appreciate it. Thank you, gentlemen.
All right. So we have that hashed out. We'll move down to the next item on the agenda. Do we have a fourth item there? We already did it.
Already did it.
And next, we're going to the public hearing for the open public hearing charter communication franchise amendments. And at this time, I'll open the open public hearing. And Shirley, hand it off to you.
Mr. Erdman could not be here today, so I came down. This is regarding a right-of-way franchise for charter communications. The resolution itself was passed on December 11th of 2024, Resolution 2024-303. And the verbiage within the contract renewal was very confusing when it came to the effective date. The whole intent was it being effective December 31st. But there was 2 sections that referenced the effective date. And section 14.12, I worked with Jeff on this. We removed that section. That is what we're seeking approval for, simply because I believe there was potentially a typo. Grantee was listed as when they sign. That's the effective date. And it actually probably should have read grantor. But the verbiage was kind of a duplication also of the effective date section 2.2. So what we are looking for is to keep only section 2.2 and to where it actually states the 31st. And moving forward with further franchise agreements, we will make sure that it's a little more specific as far as when the board approves. The actual agreement is when the effective date should be. So again, this was just more of a clarification simply because the 2 sections didn't really correlate. It sounded like in 1412 that when the grantee signed, it actually should be when the board signs. So this is to clarify that.
Did you say that was at 12.2?
14.12 and 2.2. 2.2 is the section that I have the wording in the resolution of what we intend it to be for clarification, and then to eliminate section 14.12. And due to changing the agreement, Charter was in agreement, they've signed, but because we are changing the agreement itself was the need for the public hearing.
Okay, I think I understand what you're saying now. Thank you.
Any further discussion? This is an open public hearing, so anybody from the public is more than welcome to come forward. Is there anybody besides the commissioners that would like to speak on this today? Seeing nobody coming forward and the commissioners have no further comment, I will close the open public hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of Resolution 2025-0142 as presented.
Second?
There's been a motion and a second for Resolution 2025-142. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll move down to the closed record hearing.
Already have one.
And at this time, I will, looking for my notes here. I will open the closed record hearing. Mr. McCart.
Mr. Chairman,
Oh, before we get started here, I must, we're opening the closed record hearing on conditioned use permit to allow for the construction and operation of a 10-megawatt solar facility. Have any of my fellow commissioners had ex parte communications that you need to disclose, or is there any need for you to recuse yourself from this decision?
No.
So, Mr. Chairman, I don't believe I need to recuse myself, but there's two things that I want to disclose. I received a phone call. I did not answer the call. It went to my voicemail. I did not return that voicemail, put it in the hands of Mr. McCart, and he took it from there. So I did receive a voicemail that I did not have. And then prior to me knowing that this was going to come before us, in the Tri-City Area Journal of Business, there was an article describing a project coming to Connell. So I knew about that. I had ex parte communication in that I asked, what is this? And but there was nothing site specific. There was nothing that had anything to do with what is in this packet before us today.
I also received a phone call but did not answer.
Yeah, I think we all received a phone call. It was a message on mine too, but none of us engaged or talked to anybody about this. Have you had an opportunity to review the entire record prior to this hearing today?
I have.
Yes.
Mr. McCart?
so Commissioners, just to bring to your attention, so in the staff report, item 23 was changed at the Planning Commission meeting. You have the language in front of you. It was done on the fly. The proposal for the draft resolution I put in front of you, I did reword that so it sounded a little bit better. I did not change the intent. So if you choose to go forward with the resolution the way it is, you just need to make that change on the record. Other than that, the file's in front of you, and I will leave you to deliberate. Unless you have any questions.
Questions, commissioners?
Just a couple of comments. As I read through this record, I just wanted to make a couple of notations. Number one, thank you for the hard work of the Planning Commission in preparing this, and to staff in your preparation of this for us. For the public, it takes a lot of time and effort to put that together. And I was impressed again last night as I went through it a second time at the thoroughness that you showed in this packet. I did have actually quite a few questions that, as I read through it, found that the questions that I had were almost 100% answered. I did have a question about, as a pilot myself, and this being adjacent to an active airport, the concern of glare. I seen that was brought up by a planning commissioner, and could you speak to that at all? It says that it was going to be mitigated, but it didn't speak extensively about what that mitigation might be.
So you'll notice in the record you do have a preliminary glare report. As they're constructing, it was stated in the record that they would be doing another glare report to make sure that they were not affecting aviation or negatively affecting any glare on the surrounding roads, especially Highway 395. So that's all in the record in there. So that further work will be done as part of the construction.
And then mitigation, if they were to find that there was a concern with that next step in the process, that would be addressed at that time.
Yes, sir. This is a preliminary approval. Of course, it'll all be finalized during the construction phase.
Yeah. I just appreciate the thoughtfulness of the planning commissioners as they went through and asked the questions that they did, and that was very, very helpful, and I have no further. Thank you.
Commissioner Mullen, anything?
Yeah, I have no questions.
So in here, it does address the glare, and that was the first thing I wrote on here was airport solar flare reflex light. On number 12, it says the cup shall be valid for up to 1 year after that date the board approval if after 1 year the conditions cannot be met, the applicant will need to reapply for the cup. That's pretty self-explanatory, correct?
So that is what's in the code currently. There is the option to request before the year is up for a 6-month extension in our code.
One other thing I found in conditions of approval was West intermittent aquatic feature, as noted in the critical area report, is associated with the flood hazard area boundary closed depressional area. Is this actually being built in a flood area?
No, sir, that's not allowed. They had 2 different designs that are in the paperwork there. All of those designs, and if they were to change it in the final design, would be outside of the floodplain. That's in the report, as well as making sure that any disturbed shrub step was mitigated for with WDFW.
I saw that too. So one thing that, as I look through this, I never seen, as with everything in windmills, solar, it all wears out eventually. This cannot be abandoned. If this was to be in the disuse area, who would tear it down and be responsible for disposal?
So if you see in the slide presentation, that was addressed in the presentation. I believe it's a 35-year lease with an option to renew. At the time that this is done, terminated, I will say, everything will be removed and the farmland will be put back to exactly what it was previously. So that was mentioned in part of the slide presentation.
All right. Is there any other discussion? That I've got all my questions answered. Are we good?
Yeah, no further questions.
So Commissioners, I would ask that you address item 23 that I highlighted and make sure that you're good with the language in the resolution. On the record, please.
The language that you proposed in that, I thought that was thoughtfully done. Appreciated that, and I am good with the language that you proposed.
Yes.
Any idea what page that is?
You're talking about,
8 of the resolution.
yes, item 23. The use may be allowed on agricultural lands of long-term commercial significance, ALTEX, AKA agricultural resource lands, prime dry lands, if animal grazing is used. And if animal grazing is not used, the conditional use shall be restricted outside of the ALTEX lands.
So just for the public, if there could have a question about that. So we have different categories of farmland, and if you can put solar panels on farmland, but a solar panel is not farming. And so you would have to use it for a agricultural purpose. This applicant has proposed grazing the area underneath the solar panels, and that would make it qualify to be able to be used on that small portion where it covers an ALTAC. So that's what this adjustment that the chair just read out would do, is would allow for that to be used on an ALTAC, but it would require it to be grazed and used as an agricultural land of significance.
And they plan on using sheep, I understand, because they won't chew on wires?
So in the presentation and the actual YouTube video of the Planning Commission, they had a shepherd came in and testify to the benefits of using sheep. And one of the things they noted is that sheep not only do a good job of grazing, they don't chew on the wires, they don't jump on the panels. They are the perfect animals to use in conjunction with this, to keep it in ag as well as to protect the solar array.
Any other questions, comments?
No further from me.
So there is no public testimony or staff presentation on this. And now we're to the point where I will close the closed record hearing and entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move for approval of Resolution 2025-0143 as presented.
Second?
There's been a motion, a second, for Resolution 2025-0143. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 All right, that takes us down to, I believe, trying to find my agenda here. Oh, here it is right here. Takes us down to Commissioner Administrator updates. Mr. Danzel.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This week, I met with Congressman Baumgartner's Chief of Staff, Dan Bisbee, and Commissioner Bauman, where we toured Levy Park, as well as some ag producers and agritourism vendors. And in that, we found a lot of producers that described a lot of their challenges with various entities and state agencies, gave me a couple ideas of what we could do to help those individuals. Attended the HAPO Center event last week where there were community leaders, elected officials, members of the business community, as well as the public at large. It was very well attended. The community came together for a wonderful evening where HWL described their vision for the future while showcasing some of the improvements that have been made and different vendors and different folks that have utilized that center. As has been discussed, pardon me, we officially signed with the Department of Commerce regarding the HAPO HVAC appropriation. As we've already taken action here, you folks have today. The tribal notification letter gets sent out. But one thing that I did want to flag for you, and I think that you'll agree with it, I think we should do a workshop with McKinstry again. Do you want me to get that scheduled and on the books?
Absolutely.
Okay, I think
Yes.
that's something that we should do, so I'm going to schedule that. Working with Tri-Cities Monitoring on their contract, it's a little bit difficult in that they've got a statewide association meeting the next 2 days in Tacoma, I want to say. But we've already got one in place, the current one that we can work from, but we will have the final contract done by Friday. So that should be taken care of soon. And that, again, was just a little bit of scheduling. People have to be out of the area. Hard to get them just, not only just be there, and then I also have to take a little, I sent the wrong contract the first time. There's a contract in place for juvenile, the juveniles, and I sent that contract rather than the courthouse security shack contract. So some of that's on me as well. I met with Auditor Beaton and staff to discuss our financial position. As you gentlemen know, we've had 2 months in a row now where we've had sales tax revenue that's come in about 15% short of what our projections were. Next week, I will have some considerations for the board as it pertains to the budget and actions that we can take to try and mitigate some of this, but I will have that presented and ready for you next week. One of the things that I'm very excited about is I got a call 2 days ago from the newly appointed Director of Rural Development, Kirk Pearson, former state senator I served with. And Mr. Pearson has made the commitment that his very first meeting and act as the State Director of Rural Development has come to Franklin County and to tour MESA specifically. So I got him committed on that. And so I was wondering if I could set up a workshop with the USDA Rural Development and Mr. Pearson in the near future too. We'll get that.
Absolutely, but could we also get him to look at maybe Connell and Colotis too? Because I know we got a problem up there with when it rains heavy, and in the wintertime, they got to boil the water.
Mr. Commissioner, I'd like to say that Mr. Pearson has asked if he could spend an entire day in Franklin County and actually go to different places with each commissioner. You could kind of show him what your interests are and where you think we could use some investment. He's wanting to do that, so.
Excellent.
And that'll be sooner rather than later. Pretty excited about
Thank
that.
you.
I met with Jared at Benton County and have a meeting this Friday to discuss the Benton Franklin Fair. I'll probably be on the phone with a couple of different people to give me some background information on that. This will be the first time that I've been in a county where its own county didn't have its own fair. So like a lot of things, they're Benton and Franklin kind of combined to produce whatever it might be, whether it's services rendered or production of a fair. So I'm going to go meet with them on that and kind of get up to speed on what all that entails. And then, of course, I met with Commissioner Didier and Bauman to discuss the agenda as well as the potential ILA with the city of Pasco as it pertains to HAPO. And so I've been doing that. Also available here if you all need me to do anything or if you want me to be paying certain attention to any specific items. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you, members.
Thank you. Commissioner Bauman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It's been a fairly busy week. Had a strategic advisory team meeting for BCES last week. As our administrator described, the HAPO Center showcased where HWL put together just a bunch of different opportunities that if anybody were to want to have a meeting of any kind, from a board meeting all the way up to multiple thousands of people, and really appreciated all their efforts there. It was a very well attended event, and just appreciate the efforts that they're going through. Attended the first annual Mirror Ministries Gala last Friday night, where that I learned that there's 3 different ways people call it: gala, and I forget the third one. So I'm not educated enough, I guess, to understand the difference in the 3 ways of pronunciation. But anyway, so really appreciated that, where they talked about people that have been trafficked, and it's a pretty hard subject to discuss, and was really impressed with the way they discussed it and the strength of the young lady that came and told her story. It was a powerful story of the reasons why, and her story, while unique, is not necessarily unique in that it can happen to anyone. And so really appreciate the efforts of Mirror Ministries. As our administrator described, had a meeting with Bumgardner's Chief of Staff. Really appreciated that opportunity, and dovetail that in with a visit that we kind of impromptu worked out, that Dan and Brian and I took a visit to Levy Landing Park. I'm very concerned, have been concerned since I was appointed commissioner, with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers' lack of service to our community. And while I don't necessarily blame it on the Corps themselves, it is their responsibility and the responsibility of our congressional representatives to fulfill their obligations, and that is to provide recreational opportunities to our community. Levy Landing Park is, I've been going there since before I can remember, and it's a amazing location and facility. And, I've been going there for more than 40 years, and it's gone downhill since then. It is now, the Corps of Engineers says they are going to close it. They didn't use the word permanent, but until further notice. And that is very frustrating. This is something that the Corps committed to do to the communities in which they have facilities, and they're not doing it. They're closing a lot of facilities locally. And so I asked Dan, the representative chief of staff for Mr. Bumgardner, if he would help us find some kind of resolution, some kind of path forward. They haven't been taking care of it. I met with them several times last year, the Corps of Engineers, out there at Levy Landing Park, the picnic shelters. The largest shelter out there has large areas where the shingles are all blown off and you can see the wood on the roof. And if they don't do maintenance on it, the entire roof system will have to be replaced. And it's really frustrating to know that this is something that our community has relied on, they've committed to doing, and our community pays for, but now is not going to have the opportunity to use that facility. So I've asked our administrator and Mr. Bumgardner's chief of staff to help come up with some ideas of ways to do this, and I don't know what that looks like. And so they've both committed to trying to help find a solution there. Had a Benton County Emergency Services Independence Task Force meeting, where I've shared with you before, where we discussed for this agency to become independent, what does that look like? And the biggest challenge that is facing that is what would equity of support be from all the different agencies. So there's the big five agencies that own it, and then there's 23 agencies that use it, and what would that look like? And so just to give you a little bit of perspective from Franklin County, if you divide pay by how many citizens it serves, if you divide it by calls made, any way you divide it, Franklin County disproportionately pays a very large portion of the expenses with that facility, and so we do have some tough decisions to make coming down the road, and I do want to say that everybody there recognizes that yesterday, that multiple of those meetings, it's been asked if anybody in the room was there whenever they designed or put together the pay structure that we currently have, and nobody has been there. So nobody today that's involved in this was a part of designing how it is today, and nobody can describe it, of why we pay what we pay. A couple of considerations there. So the Big Five own it, and so the way that I would like to describe it is whether you have 30 ambulance calls a year or 300 ambulance calls a year, you still have to have the ambulance. And so there's a difference. There's a difference in infrastructure versus the use of that infrastructure. And the use of it would be the tires and the gas and so forth. And so there's kind of two different components there. And so I just appreciate everybody wrestling through the tough issues that we have ahead of how do we do this. Our community expects when they call for service, they expect it to be there. And so we still have a ways to go, but appreciate the hard work that's being done there. Meeting at the HAPO Center with our administrator and the manager of HAPO. Just appreciate that we're making progress there every day, and the facility continues to get better. Went to Pasco City Council meeting on Monday night, and similar to what we did today, just in their own way, is they recognized made a number of different proclamations. Special place for me is they recognized Law Enforcement Week, and so a bunch of the Pasco PD came up and was recognized for their service to our community, and they also did a veterans recognition, and there was more than a couple of dozen veterans come forward and stood, and it was really good to see those that from all different walks that have chosen to step forward and serve our community. So thank you to law enforcement, to our corrections deputies, to the veterans that have answered the call to serve the community. So thank you for that. Agenda meeting with our administrator, and I think in the last probably 10 business days that I've talked to you every single day, in some cases multiple times a day. So I just appreciate you being available and for the opportunity to wrestle ideas and concerns and sometime to answer a simple question. So I appreciate that. So with that, Mr. Chairman, that's my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Mullen?
So I also attended the HAPO event out there. It was well received. They've done great improvements, looking nice, and I know that they've gotten new leads as far as people interested in renting the facility. Tomorrow, there is a open house at Visit Tri-Cities from 12 to 3, and then also tomorrow at 2 to 3:30 is the Benton Franklin Health Advisory Committee. So if anybody is interested in either one of those are available, and that's my report.
Thank you. So I had my pre-agenda meeting with Mr. Danzel, and I appreciate Mr. McCart coming in and sitting down and bouncing things off of him. Having these two guys in Franklin County is an incredible blessing for Franklin County, and I thank you both for helping out Franklin County. You guys are doing an incredible job. Wes, you're doing a great job out there getting our planning and building back into shape, and I know you got your work cut out for you. You've sort of told me that it's going to be a lot of work, but I appreciate you being down here. Roadways, I want to emphasize this again. There's a lot of farm equipment moving up and down the roads in Franklin County, and almost every day I'm witnessing almost a head-on collision. We just got to make sure that the farm machinery is considerate of the roadways and getting off and letting people get by when they create long lines of cars. We need to start really working on creating some pull-off areas on Glade and Road 68. Of course, Mr. Dockstetter brought up the intersection over there by Douglas Fruit. That needs to be addressed. That is a hazard driving through there and I know they've slowed it down, but it's still very hazardous. The next thing I want to report on is what's occurring out there in the farmlands right now is that the wire theft is on an increase. I'm doing a project down on Self Landing, and I've been hit 3 times. They're stealing the wire off the spans. This is costing the farmers $1,000 a span. And sometimes they're only clipping off maybe 20 feet. You got to go buy a whole new piece of wire. And that wire's for a span of a 147 is about $1,000. The longer they are, the more it costs. It's so much a foot. It's up. It is happening. Harold Worsham had a circle hit. He put new wire on it. They took it off 2 days later. We've got Mark Hammer had a circle hit. They're all over. It's on self-landing. It's happening heavily, and I know I see our sheriff in here, so I'd ask him to please put extra patrols on self-landing. Somebody is down there, and besides that, I left my man lift truck down there, and they stole all my electrical tools out of it too. So pipe wrenches, everything was gone. Theft is on the rise. We got to get a grip on it, because I don't want to see an angry farmer get a hold of these guys. You may not find them. With that, that's pretty much the end of my report. So with that, we got an executive session, correct? Oh, yes, we do. I even highlighted that. Public comment. Is there anybody wanting to come forward for public comment?
George Dockstutter, South Landing Road. The one item on the agenda reminded me that you guys and the department heads need to think through these regulations you pass on the effect they have on the community. This deal on HAPO, having to notify the Colville Indians, we got 2 tribes closer than us. What the hell we gotta notify somebody 125 miles away, we're fixing the air conditioning? That's just BS. But the same thing is when you guys pass some stupid regulation without thinking it through what the effect is on the local community. So I just wanted to remind you, think some of these things through before you pass them.
Thank you. Anybody else for public comment? Of course, we don't have anybody on the phone. Mr. Danzel, would you like to address that, why we have to notify the tribe on that? Because we are getting federal funds, correct?
Yeah, so, yes, I think that it's changed to the point now where it used to be that you'd had to notify Department of Archaeological Historical Preservation when you were going to do shovel-ready projects. So if you were going to disrupt the dirt, again, it was passed by the state legislature, and one was a governor's executive order. So I think that the whole entire body would agree with your sentiments, sir. The problem is that it's legally required for us to be able to receive those funds and make the upgrades. But I share your frustration for sure, and I think most folks do. Yeah, it's Governor's Executive Order 21-02 is what calls for that, and there's no way around it, or else,
Well, I know farmers, when they put in for the EQIP for replacing old steel pipe with plastic pipe on ground that has been farmed since 1950 something, 1960s, they got to do the same thing. And that ground's been turned and plowed, and they got to go look for artifacts. It's anytime you receive these monies from the state or the feds, you got to do this.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I do want to say that I called because of it, because it used to be that if it was already in an existing building or structure, you wouldn't have to go through all of this. And I even asked the question, it's an enormous event center with parking lots and all sorts. It's been disturbed, so do we still have to go through it? And you do. You still have to go through it, even though it's in an air conditioning unit inside a building, and most likely there will be no disturbance whatsoever. It's just, chalk it up as one of those things that doesn't make too much sense.
So with that, I don't see nobody else stepping up to the mic. We do have an executive session. Mr. Briggs?
Yes, we do, under 4230-110, 1I, triple little I, litigation. Present would be the board, myself, county administrator. We'll have Teresa upstairs keeping time. Mackenzie's here, she's invited. I don't know if Sean, I believe he plans to attend either telephonically or in person. We'd need at least 30 minutes. That's being pretty optimistic, I think, given what we've got to discuss. So.
And if we got to extend, Teresa, you'll be able to extend for us. Okay.
Great.
So at this time, 9 10:50. We'll recess into executive session, be coming out at 10:20. And we'll be holding this downstairs.
It is 10:20, and on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, I'm reconvening the regular meeting to extend it for 20 minutes under the same RCW 4230-111I. At this time, our meeting is scheduled to resume at 10:40. It is 10:40, and on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, I'm reconvening the regular meeting to extend it for an additional 10 minutes under the same RCW 4230-110-1I. At this time, our meeting is scheduled to resume at 10:50. Good morning, 10:50. And on behalf of the Board of Commissioners, I'm reconvening the regular meeting to extend it for additional 5 minutes under the same RCW 42301101I. At this time, our meeting is scheduled to resume at 10:55.
Have the authority to go ahead and say that we're back in order, or back in session, and maybe do a recess for a couple minutes.
Welcome back into the meeting. We are back from the executive session with no decisions being made, and we are going to be in recess for a few moments until the board reassembles.
Okay, we have come back from executive session with no decisions being made. At this point in time, I believe there's a motion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. I would move to amend the agenda to add a potential action item to the agenda.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to amend the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 So, Mr. Chairman, I'm going to read a statement here, and I believe that this is in the form of a consensus. Is that correct, Mr. Briggs?
This is a motion to waive a conflict of interest.
Thank you, sir. So, Mr. Chairman, we have been fully advised by the prosecutor's office that Bob Christie's firm, Baker, Sturchy, Cowden, and Rice, is associated with attorney Andy Cooley in a matter brought by the union, Teamsters Union Local 839, against Franklin County Sheriff Raymond and each of us as the Franklin County Board of Commissioners. And this is referred to as union litigation. We recognize that this representation presents a potential conflict of interest with Mr. Christie being appointed to represent Sheriff Raymond in the current dispute related to the Franklin County Jail. Mr. Christie has agreed to undertake the representation of Sheriff Raymond by walling off within his office all information related to the union litigation. We have been advised of RPC 1.7 governing conflicts of interest, current client, by the prosecutor's office, and we hereby move to waive any conflict of interest involving Mr. Christie representing Sheriff Raymond in the jail dispute. Franklin County case number 25-2-50414-11.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. I'm not going to try to repeat that whole thing. Is there any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So with that, we are through our executive session. We need a closed session, but at this time, I will adjourn the meeting, and we will move into closed session. Thanks, Mr. Briggs.